The concept of financial independence is rarely born out of massive, sweeping life overhauls or sudden windfalls of wealth. Instead, it is almost always built in the quiet, unexamined corners of our daily routines, constructed brick by brick through the microscopic choices we make, without a second thought. In his transformative narrative work, The Latte Factor, author David Bach, alongside co-author John David Mann, dissects a profound macroeconomic truth disguised as a simple story about coffee. The greatest barrier to personal wealth is not a lack of income, but a total lack of awareness regarding small, habitual expenditures. Bach introduces us to a foundational financial paradigm that challenges the deeply entrenched cultural myth that you need to make a lot of money to become wealthy. Through the journey of a young professional named Zoe, the book serves as a psychological mirror, forcing us to confront the heavy, long-term compounding cost of our daily indulgences. By deconstructing the illusion of scarcity, automating our financial freedom, and realigning our spending with our deepest core values, we can dismantle the invisible metrics, keeping us trapped in a perpetual cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. To understand why so many high-earning individuals still find themselves constantly stressed about money, we have to isolate the psychological mechanism Bach labels the latte factor itself. The term is not a literal war on premium coffee. Rather, it is a powerful metaphor for any small, recurring, non-essential expense that quietly bleeds an individual's disposable income dry before it ever has a chance to be invested. Think of the daily gourmet coffee, the forgotten digital subscriptions, the premium streaming tiers, the casual lunches out, or the minor impulse purchases at the checkout counter. To the untrained eye, a $5 or $10 purchase feels completely inconsequential in the grand scheme of a monthly budget. The human brain easily rationalizes these microtransactions because the immediate emotional reward of comfort or convenience completely outweighs the seemingly invisible future penalty. We tell ourselves that $10 today means nothing because $10 cannot buy anything substantial in the present moment anyway. This is a catastrophic failure of mathematical imagination. When you aggregate these tiny, invisible leaks over a standard 30-year working horizon and subject them to the unstoppable force of market compounding, the numbers become absolutely staggering. A simple $10 a day, redirected into a basic index fund compounding at a standard historical return, transforms over a few decades into hundreds of thousands of dollars of pure, unadulterated wealth. The tragedy of the average professional is that they are literally drinking or streaming away their early retirement, completely oblivious to the fact that their small daily habits are keeping them chained to a desk for an extra decade of their lives. This brings us directly to the first major financial myth Bach seeks to shatter: the pervasive, self-defeating belief that you do not earn enough money to start saving. Almost everyone believes that their financial stress would instantly evaporate if they could just secure a 20% raise, a bigger holiday bonus, or a higher-paying job title. This is a classic cognitive mirage. History and behavioral data consistently show that when income increases, lifestyle inflation almost always rises right alongside it to completely consume the new surplus. This is known as Parkinson's law of money, where expenses expand to meet income. If you cannot find the discipline to save $5 out of a $50,000 salary, you will mathematically never find the discipline to save $500 out of a $500,000 salary. The problem is fundamentally behavioral, not mathematical. Bach forces us to realize that the money we need to secure our future is already passing through our hands right now, every single day. It is just being diverted into the pockets of corporations before we can claim it for ourselves. True financial security is never achieved by changing your income first. It is achieved by radically shifting your relationship with the money you already make. To break free from this cycle, Bach introduces the single most important rule of wealth accumulation. You must pay yourself first. The vast majority of people approach their monthly finances backward. They receive their paycheck, pay their rent or mortgage, clear their utility bills, buy their groceries, indulge in their daily retail habits, and then promise to save whatever happens to be left over at the end of the month. Unsurprisingly, what is left over is almost always exactly zero. By making savings a residual priority, you are essentially volunteering to pay the landlord, the phone company, the coffee shop, and the clothing retailer before you pay the future version of yourself. Paying yourself first completely flips this script, requiring you to treat your personal savings as an absolute, non-negotiable expense that must be settled the exact second your income hits your account. Before anyone else can touch a single dime of your hard-earned money, a fixed percentage must be immediately carved out and secured for your investment portfolio. This requires no willpower if you use the magic of automation. You must set up your financial architecture so that your investment contributions are automatically deducted from your paycheck and routed directly into your retirement or brokerage accounts before you ever even see the cash. If you never see the money in your main spending account, you will never consciously miss it. The human brain possesses an incredible, highly adaptive capacity to adjust its lifestyle to whatever baseline of cash is visibly available. If your net available balance is suddenly 10% lower because that money was automatically swept into an investment account, your subconscious spending habits will naturally contract to accommodate the new reality without you feeling any genuine sense of deprivation. You will still buy groceries, you will still pay your rent, and you will still find ways to enjoy your life, but your wealth will be growing silently and aggressively in the background on absolute autopilot. This automated discipline is what allows an individual to harness the true, life-altering power of compound interest, a force Albert Einstein famously dubbed the eighth wonder of the world. Compound interest is the process where your money earns interest, and then that interest turns around and earns interest on itself, creating an accelerating snowball effect of capital growth. In the early stages of investing, the results look incredibly slow, almost painfully boring. You watch your account for a few years, and it feels like your small sacrifices are barely moving the needle, which is exactly why so many undisciplined investors give up and return to their old spending habits. They quit right before the mathematical curve begins to turn vertical. The secret to compounding is time and consistency, not the size of the initial starting amount. A person who starts investing a tiny fraction of their income in their early 20s will effortlessly accumulate a vastly larger fortune by retirement than someone who starts investing double that amount in their late 30s. By protecting your daily small change and feeding it into the compounding machine early, you are buying your future freedom at an immense psychological discount. However, Bach is deeply careful to clarify that financial freedom is not about living a life of toxic frugality, misery, or deprivation. True wealth is not measured simply by a large number in a bank account, nor is it about hoarding every single penny while refusing to enjoy the present moment. The entire philosophy of the Latte Factor is actually designed to help you live a rich life right now, which requires an honest, deep dive alignment of your capital with your values. Most people do not actually love the things they spend their money on. They are simply consuming out of boredom, social pressure, or mindless habit. When you blindly follow consumer trends, buying clothes you do not need to impress people you do not like, you are engaged in a form of financial self-sabotage that brings zero long-term fulfillment. Bach challenges us to define what a rich life actually looks like to us on an individual level. For one person, it might mean the freedom to travel the world. For another, it might be the ability to work fewer hours to spend time with family, or the peace of mind that comes from being completely debt-free. Once you isolate your true core values, cutting back on the things that do not matter becomes incredibly easy. You no longer view skipping the daily meaningless purchase as a form of painful sacrifice. Instead, you see it as a joyful, deliberate choice to reallocate your capital toward the things that bring you genuine, lasting happiness. You are not depriving yourself of a latte. You are actively buying your freedom, your peace of mind, and your dreams. This brings us to the profound concept of myths of time. Specifically, the toxic illusion that you will figure your finances out later when you have more time or when life settles down. Life never settles down. The perfect moment to start building wealth does not exist. And waiting for a future date where your calendar is clear and your income is pristine is nothing more than a sophisticated form of procrastination. The cost of delay is the most expensive tax an individual can ever pay. Every single year you spend sitting on the sidelines waiting for the stars to align cuts the potential terminal value of your retirement nest egg completely in half. The market does not care about your good intentions, your busy schedule, or your promises to start tomorrow. The only metric that matters is the exact date you start letting your money work for you. By demystifying the world of investing and reducing it to a series of simple, actionable habits, Bach strips away the artificial intimidation factor that Wall Street uses to keep regular people dependent on expensive financial advisors. You do not need an advanced degree in economics to secure your financial future. You simply need the courage to look at your daily choices with absolute, unflinching honesty. Ultimately, the Latte Factor is an empowering manifesto that places the keys to financial destiny firmly back into the hands of the individual. It completely removes the excuse of institutional helplessness, reminding us that while we cannot control global markets, tax codes, or corporate salary scales, we possess absolute, sovereign control over our daily micro-choices. We stop viewing ourselves as passive victims of a broken economic system and start acting as the conscious architects of our own long-term liberty. The journey to an extraordinary life of abundance does not require a miracle. It simply requires you to change your morning routine, to look at that small daily transaction not as a throwaway expense, but as a seed that has the power to grow into an entire forest of financial independence. By changing your focus from immediate consumption to long-term compounding, paying yourself first through automated systems, and anchoring every single dollar in your true values, you break the chains of economic anxiety forever. The next time you walk into a store or pull out your phone to make a mindless purchase, pause for just a moment, remember the math of your own future, and choose the freedom you actually deserve.